what's the point now continuing in this system after 48 years? So I just decided to quit.
So you just spoke about how you got a little disillusioned with the system and how it's functioning. Don't you think it's all the more reason for lawyers like you to continue?
I am the only guy who was carrying the load of taking on the judiciary. People who gang raped a lady during Gujarat riots, when they were freed by Supreme Court wrongly, because the remission was granted to them, how they were garlanded and how people danced around and welcomed them. Injustice is being meted out now to people, the Dalits, the minority community members, Muslims, Christians, opposition leaders, even stand-up comedians. So everybody, unfortunately, is unable to get justice.
Do you think that the executive uses terrorism and counter-terrorism measures to, kind of bulldoze laws which are unconstitutional?
500 people were encountered by Mr. Yogi Adityanath's government. And the National Human Rights Commission, High Court and Supreme Court remained moot spectators.
India as a country is a very interesting paradox, because people here feared the police, but they somehow had great faith on the judiciary, which over a period of time has been deteriorating. In the judicial corridors, you were known as like sort of a rebel advocate who had like quite a lot of tiff with multiple chief justices.
There is no system which can work today.
Hi sir, good morning. Thank you so much for coming all the way here for the Indians podcast.
Good morning to you, and good morning to all your viewers and all the people who watch your shows.
Before we start, we cannot not ask you what made you retire, because from what we know, usually lawyers don't retire, and we remember the great Mr. Ram Jethmalani. He used to go and practice even when I think he was 93, 94 years old.
That's
right?
correct.
You are very fit, very young. What still made you retire?
See, several reasons. One is, of course, after 48 years, you feel little bored with the profession. Secondly, life has so much to offer. And I love to explore many aspects of life. I love, I feel that I must have time for myself and my family. So I love music, every form of music, classical, Hindustani, film music, Western classical, jazz music, pop music. I listen to music almost for almost 10, 12 hours a day. I attend most concerts. Most of the top classical musicians of the country are my friends. I have hosted them at various places. And I like to play golf quite a lot. I do yoga. I walk every day, 7,000 steps. And I read a lot, hell of a lot. I read a lot of, fiction, non-fiction. Plus traveling I love. And of course I love, my family, my grandchildren. So all that is on personal side. The professional side was that, yes, as I said that, I got little bored, little bit of disillusion. Because the system is unfortunately not gearing up to the expectations. I mean, truly speaking, there is great potential in the system. There are some outstanding judges. But I think the system itself is not efficient and it's not really doing the job that it should do as to justice delivery. Now, and I think at times there is a lot of injustices being meted out now to people. To people like, people from the vulnerable sections of the society, the Dalits, the minority community members, Muslims, Christians, opposition leaders, critics, even stand-up comedians. So everybody, unfortunately, is unable to get justice as it should be given to them. And I was seeing that people were suffering, I mean, even in terms of not just criminal justice system, but even civil justice system was not able to really help people get justice, good justice, and much less in time. So all that made me feel that what's the point now continuing in this system after 48 years? So I just decided to quit, and I took the decision and I implemented it straight away.
So you just spoke about how you got a little disillusioned with the system and how it's functioning. Don't you think it's all the more reason for lawyers like you to continue? Because there are many lawyers, but very few who understand the dynamic and how courts function, how to navigate the system.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'm not saying that I am the only guy who was carrying the load of taking on the judiciary. there are a lot of people, a lot of lawyers, people like Mr. Sibbal, and many others who are taking up many issues, so system has, it throws up people. There are a lot of young people who are now committed, who are willing to do, people like Sanjay Hegde, they are committed. I could have continued, but then I felt that I've been, struggling, if I may say so, or maybe taking on the judiciary, especially corruption in judiciary and nepotism, and of course, intellectual and political interference for almost 20 years. And I felt that, it's enough. I have done my bit, and I should therefore, I have helped almost 500-700 people over my 48 years of career, pro bono, in getting justice to them. So I felt that, yes, I have achieved, I have done what I think was expected of me, or what my capacity was. So I do feel that, yes, maybe I could have continued. But then if you're not enjoying the work, there is no point continuing.
Yeah.
And so I remain outside. Of course, I will be speaking, I will be writing articles and taking up the public issues. But otherwise, I'm happier, I think, outside. It's been just about little over 3 weeks, and it's been a great time in last 3 weeks. I'm rediscovering myself.
Wow. Before we come to the rest of your career, and we'll talk a lot about judiciary, of course, but that brings me, I remember that your father was a judge, if
Yes.
I'm not wrong, right?
Yes.
If we take a step back and go to your early life, how did your father influence the lawyer in you, and how you saw law and judiciary in general?
See, I must say one thing, that my parents, both my father and my mother, were extraordinarily great human beings. And although my mother was not very literate, highly literate, she had just been to, I think, standard 5 or something in school, but she was immensely religious and very spiritual. And and my father was an extremely honest and upright, hardworking judge, a great human being with a lot of value system. So I was fortunate that I got from them, excellent value system, what we call sanskar. आज माँ बाप से जो संस्कार मिलते हैं वो, बहुत कम, I mean, उसका जो फ़ायदा होता है लाइफ में, वो एक अलग, किस्म का होता है. It becomes a great asset in your life, and if you follow those, ideals that you have seen your parents following, it helps you. So far as being a lawyer is concerned, my father was not in favor of my becoming a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Because my father had retired way back in 1974, and I was graduating from law school in 1978, and he had no money. He had gone back to Baroda, which is our hometown from Ahmedabad, where High Court is, and he couldn't afford. So he was dissuading me from becoming a lawyer. And one of my father's very good friends, and a High Court judge who later became a Supreme Court judge, Justice D. Desai, he was our neighbor. Okay. And he and I used to exchange a lot of novels. And we had, kind of common, I think, bonding, because my father was pro Mrs. Indira Gandhi and I was against Mrs. Indira Gandhi, especially during emergency. Yeah. Justice Desai was completely against her. So I and Justice Desai forged kind of a bond against my dad in the evening when we would have tea and, heated conversations. So Mr. Justice Desai told my father that you may have had to wait to become a successful lawyer or stand on your own for 10 years. This boy won't need it. I promise you, let him become a lawyer. So he was one of the few people who really motivated me to become a lawyer. But of course, I had seen my father, how he was, doing as a judge, how hardworking he was as a district judge first and then as a High Court judge and later as chairman of the Education Tribunal. Yeah. He had amazing capacity. I mean, amazing capacity to hard work, and he was brilliant in law. So I think all that combined, and I decided that, and anyway, academically I was not a genius. So I couldn't have, those days, people who were good in academics went to medical college or engineering college. Yeah. I was not in, I could never have got marks to go to either medical or engineering. So the option available was law. And I therefore decided to take law and plunged in.
Right. You mentioned about Justice Desai. If you were to recall, like, say, one advice that Mr. Desai gave you, what would it be?
He said that, look, you must have faith in yourself. And if you have faith in yourself, and if you know what you want to pursue in life, follow that. Yeah, I mean, it's your passion, it's your love. Because everybody in life has to do something. So if you have decided that no, I want to be a lawyer, then fall in love, with the idea of becoming a lawyer, and then follow that idea to the hilt. Work hard, be straightforward. So I think the kind of direction which he gave me, that single-ended pursuit to pursue law. That I think was a great advice that he gave me, and that has helped me immensely in my profession.
Yeah, quite profound. What was Baroda like Baroda of your childhood, if you recall back?
I have spent childhood in many places.
Okay.
So I was born in 1955. 5 years I was in Baroda. Then I went to various places. My father became a district judge in 1960. So Palanpur, small place from where all the diamond merchants come, the Mehtas. We spent 3.5 years there. Then Jamnagar 3.5 years. Then Nadiad. Then came back to Ahmedabad.
Okay.
And luckily, by the time I was finishing school, I came to Ahmedabad. So last 6-8 months were in school in Ahmedabad. College I did in Ahmedabad all through. But I enjoyed each one of these places because they provided a great opportunity to meet all kinds of different people, different friends, and from all strata of the society. One of my best friend as a child in Palanpur was a shepherd's son, and he still remains in touch with me. He joined, he worked hard, he studied, he joined a bank, and he's retired. And every time he sees my television or YouTube debates, he will call me up and talk to me for a couple of minutes. So it was a great I would say learning process, meeting different kinds of people from different strata of society, and different types of education. And I studied all through in Gujarati medium schools.
Okay.
So it was a great advantage to me because that made me read Gujarati a lot, and that made me stronger to learn English when I came to college and joined an English medium college.
So was it difficult shifting from Gujarati all your life and then coming to English?
No, it was not, because I had one very interesting character in me. I always listened to All India radios in news in those days.
Okay.
And there are amazing people like Melville Di Mello, Jyotika Roy, then one Mr. Lal. They were outstanding English newscasters on All India radio. And I would try and read English newspapers, little bit, trying to understand on my own. I was making an effort, although I didn't even know ABCD at that point of time. But I think listening, and then later when I picked up the language, by the time I was, I think in standard 11, I decided to, pursue my reading very extensively. And so the transition came very smoothly from virtual illiteracy of English. Like even today, I have zero knowledge of English grammar.
Okay.
Zero knowledge. Okay. I don't know grammar at all because I have not learned English as most of you would have learned, in school. So, but I picked up from reading. In college, I read maybe a couple of thousand books, novels. I hardly went to classes. And I would read newspapers, I would listen to BBC. By the time I came to college, I was a very ardent follower of BBC news and, of course, All India Radio. So I think that gave me, a lot of confidence to pick up the language, because I knew that if I want to do something in life, English is a must. And unfortunately, at that point of time in Gujarat, not much stress was being, given to English language. Okay. And Gujaratis suffered and continue to suffer because of that. Today, technology sector, for example, the Andhra and Karnataka and Tamil Nadu provide far more, technology people than Gujarat can ever provide.
Right.
So the technology centers have not developed in Gujarat because of that.
Right. Do you remember, sir, the first case that you fought, which really made you very proud of yourself, like your profession?
See, first case that gave me great satisfaction was, a case which I did for a girls' school, which was Arya Kanya Vidyalaya of Vadodara. Okay. And the school had a property. It was set up by people who really were great followers of Arya Samaj and very, very great Indians. and they came and set up the school, after partition. They were in Pakistan, and the school had a very serious issue with the town planning authority. And they came to me because they knew me. I mean, somehow I was a very young lawyer. At just 78, I had begun, and this was in 79, I think, and just after 6 months. And I had to question the decision of the authorities to take away their lands. And I looked up the law, and I found a judgment which was 200 years old, English judgment called Julius versus Bishop of Oxford, where the question was how administrative powers can be, exercised. So the judge had held 200 years ago that to exercise administrative power, you must direct yourself to the factors which are relevant and ignore the irrelevant factors. And if you take into account irrelevant factors, then your decision is bad. And a writ court has a jurisdiction to entertain and grant you relief. So I cited that judgment before Justice P.D. Desai, he has been my hero all through. Not D.A. Desai, but P.D. Desai,
of course.
Justice Prabodh Desai. He was my hero, and he was very, very surprised that a young lawyer had seen this judgment which was 200 years old, and I cited that to get relief. And I succeeded in that. So that was a very interesting beginning of my career. And I think Justice Desai started looking at me with little different eyes after that. They didn't think that I was just another kid who was, who had become a lawyer.
Yeah. In any case from recent times, which...
See, there have been, several thousands and thousands of cases that I was fortunate to, take up over last 48 years of my career. But two of the cases which in recent times have given me great satisfaction is one case where I was appointed to assist the court, what is known as Amicus curiae.
Would you like to explain for our audience what an Amicus curiae is?
So Amicus curiae is a concept where court appoints. Amicus curiae means a friend of the court. Right. And it means that you have to assist the court to reach the right conclusion, right decision. And you are supposed to be independent. You are neither for one side or the other. So this was a case where a very fundamental question was being agitated before the Supreme Court, whether, a lie detector test, brain mapping test, and narco-analysis test can be compulsorily administered to the accused without his permission to extract information and confessions from him. So that was in a very challenging, case, because the states, all the states of the country and the union government, central government, all wanted that power because, it is a easy way to extort information by third degree method. Virtually it is because you are helpless when these tests are administered to you. You are not within yourself. You are not in your senses, and therefore you might. So the judges appointed me, and I must say that I was very fortunate to do great research with my colleagues. In fact, I began my arguments by reading a judgment of the Israeli Supreme Court, where Israeli Supreme Court had said that yes, Israel's existence is under challenge, but even the Palestinian terrorists cannot be treated in an inhuman way.
Wow.
And therefore, if you try and extort information from them by administering inhuman, treatment, then that confession is not admissible. So I cited that judgment, and my whole argument was, based on various novels that you may have read of Sidney Sheldon, Presumed Innocent and Burden of Proof.
Okay.
So I said that, look, everybody has a, right to remain silent. You cannot force him to make a confession against him. And it's for the prosecution to really, burden is on prosecution to find proof and then put it before the court and try and convict. So fortunately, initially judges were quite against me because the whole argument was terrorism, because this was almost 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And states were saying terrorism is a big challenge too. I said, look, you are not going to lay down a law because you are facing a challenge. Ultimately, these are fundamental principles that you can't extract confession by these kind of methods. And I won. So that was a great victory. I think that gave me a great satisfaction that because ultimately criminal jurisprudence has certain fundamental principles.
Yeah.
And as a civilized society cannot give up those fundamental principles.
Do you think that the executive uses terrorism and counter-terrorism measures to, kind of bulldoze laws which are unconstitutional? Or draconian, rather?
Yes, of course. I think executive is quite, I would say, unaware of the constitutional obligations when it not only enacts the laws which give them extraordinary powers, as Maharashtra has recently done, to fight the so-called urban Naxals. And many in the past, laws like TADA and, all these
UAPA.
laws. Yeah. UAPA, all these laws have been enacted and many of their provisions have been upheld by the court, but they are being abused more often than not. And you might find, if somebody were to do a good research, you might find that ultimately in all these cases in which these laws, draconian laws are attracted, most of the people are found ultimately innocent after having spent 5, 10, 15 years in jail.
Yes.
So there is no doubt. And I must, tell you something very interesting, that throughout the Constituent Assembly debate for about 2 years, 2.5 years, between 47 to 49, member after member had said that these laws were not there, but the Public Safety Act and, the powers of the police to harass citizens, they were, objecting to them even then. And they were saying that these are being abused even now, at that point of time. And they said that if it is being abused today, just imagine how it is going to be abused tomorrow when we become, a free nation. And they've, warned and cautioned us against it. And while framing the Constitution, when they gave the fundamental rights, they were very clear that these fundamental rights were supposed to be a check on the executive's powers to, bring these kind of draconian laws and abuse them both ways. So, but unfortunately, no, in today's parliamentarians or legislators have no time to read Constituent Assembly debates, and therefore they really have no, unfortunately, value of human life has become very little now. Nobody cares about human life. Nobody cares about liberty. Nobody cares about, incarceration without any justification for such long periods, or even third degree methods which are treatment which are being given. We are now seeing that, encounters are taking place. In UP, we saw 500 people were encountered by Mr. Yogi Adityanath's government. And National Human Rights Commission, High Court and Supreme Court remained moot spectators. We just saw in Patna, one BJP leader was killed and his alleged murderers were, killed in broad daylight. They say encounter. Now, in Gujarat, it happened when Mr. Modi was Chief Minister. 17 encounters took place. And more than 22 young people were killed. So, these are not good for a country like ours, where we have a civilization of 5,000 years. And one thing our civilization, our religion, our Hindu religion is so beautiful. One thing that it has always told us is to value human life. And unfortunately, there is no value of human life today. That's a big challenge and that's where parliamentarians and the government must, I think, step back, rethink about what these laws can be and how they are being abused.
Do you think as a society we have become more insensitive over the last decade?
We have become extremely insensitive. Extremely. I must say that there is very little empathy left in society. And as a result of that, we don't care if a fellow citizen on the road is hit by a truck and is lying, very seriously injured there. We don't want to stop and take him I have a rule. I mean, whenever I see an accident victim, I always would stop and try and take him to the hospital, nearest hospital possible. And once or twice, I have also unfortunately been confronted by police to make me a witness, for having helped. But that happens. No, there is no empathy. There is neither empathy in the government. There is no empathy in the judiciary. I mean, look at these kind of killings which are taking place. You have given these cow vigilantes all kinds of powers to kill innocent Muslims in the name of protecting cows. You saw Una incident where, 7 Dalits were, tortured and videos were taken. And they were, cleaning a dead cow. And, these kind of incidents are so terrible for the society, so terrible for society. You saw, those people who had, gang raped this lady during Gujarat riots, when they were freed by Supreme Court wrongly, because the remission was granted to them, how they were garlanded and how, people danced around and, welcomed them. I think I don't know what is wrong with us. This is not our culture. This is completely dehorsed the Hinduism that we have been all brought up to, love and respect and, worship. And it's not part of our culture at all. So I do agree that yes, there is very serious introspection that society needs. We need people like Ramakrishna, Paramhans, Vivekanand, Gandhi, maybe Shankaracharya, to really take us on the right path. We have veered away from the right path.
So, there was a time I feel that India as a country is a very interesting paradox, because people here feared the police, but they somehow had great faith on the judiciary, which over a period of time has been deteriorating. And many people also believe that judiciary, especially higher judiciary, is like a big boys club where the same set of families are, kind of circling around, whether it is amongst top lawyers, whether it is amongst judges. How do you see that, and what would you like? Would you like to share some light on that?
See, one thing about judiciary is, which is really, I feel, which is disturbing, is that there is no, a proper appointment of judges. Proper in the sense that you are just looking at, maybe when you appoint a lower class judge, you are only looking at his result in the entrance examination. And so when you do an interview of a candidate who has succeeded in an written examination, the first thing you have to know that he is going to be a judge. Is he sensitive to the society? Is he sensitive to the problems being faced by Dalits? Is he sensitive to the problems being faced by Adivasis? Is he sensitive to the problems being faced by women? Because 50% of our population is women and we still treat them as chattels. Is he sensitive to the problems of the minorities? Is he sensitive to the constitutional ethos and constitutional values? So you are appointing people. This starts at the lowest level. Then when they come to the higher judiciary and when they come to the high court, there is no, I would say, no kind of a thinking process which goes into selecting these judges to understand that are they sympathetic to the issues, are they sensitized sufficiently to see the challenges that India is facing. And we appoint these judges without any kind of such consideration in high courts and in Supreme Court also. So that is a big challenge today, that I would say that our jurisprudence in last, at least 4 or 5 decades, since the 70s, is, I would say, very pedestrian jurisprudence. It is not a jurisprudence which really is driven towards protecting citizens, protecting the constitution, upholding the human values. That is all, missing in a big way. And as a result of that, there is a serious erosion in society of, rule of law. Consequently, governance has become a big challenge. And I would say that to a great extent, lawlessness is prevalent. I mean, look at the behavior of generally, crowds. If somebody meets with an accident, even if it is not his fault, although a lot of people are today driving, irresponsibly and they should be dealt with very strictly. But even if somebody has no fault, I mean, people just gather and start beating up anybody and everybody. It's something which I don't understand why as a society we want to, indulge in this. So judiciary has a great role. They are not able to decipher between who is, guilty in society under civil law or criminal law, who's the wrong side and who's the right side. And as a result of that, because of these insensitivities, because of inefficiency, because of lack of understanding and knowledge, and to somewhat extent because of corruption, the justice gets skewed. So the wrong people are being now, targeted by judicial orders, and are being allowed to go scot-free, and the right people are being targeted, and they are not getting justice. Now, if you don't therefore deliver proper justice in the society, there is a serious erosion of, law, and that is a big challenge. So I think it's a bundle. You are right that the appointments of judges which are taking place, especially in High Courts and Supreme Court, is something which requires a very serious thinking, because yes, most of the High Court judges are relatives of the lawyers or the judges themselves in High Courts and Supreme Court, and large number of meritorious lawyers, I would say, large number, extraordinary lawyers are never in the zone of consideration for appointments to High Courts and Supreme Court.
So how do you think it can be fixed? Because there's a raging debate whether the collegium system, which is currently in place, if that is the more efficient way, or should there be a parallel model, or like how we had the NJC once, and the executive role. What do you think would be the ideal way to fix this?
There is no ideal way left in this country. We have seen what kind of appointments the government is making. I mean, we have just seen, look at the way governors are appointed. Look at the way Vice President himself was appointed, and how irresponsible statements he used to make.
Yes.
And the government itself was embarrassed, and the government therefore had to perhaps request him to resign. So, people are not being appointed in public offices from the best considerations. People are being appointed to public offices with extremely selfish considerations. And as a result of that, every public office, from Sarpanch to, the topmost, and judicial appointments are worse, because the collegium system, at least, and collegium system applies to High Courts and Supreme Court, doesn't apply to the lower judiciary.
Yes.
Lower judiciary is generally appointed by direct recruitment at the initial stage, and sometimes directly as district judges also. But there also, in the lower judiciary, what happens is that the promotions have become very subjective, and the promotions are not taking place on purely objective, criteria. Right. The appointments to the High Courts and Supreme Court, I must say, are really rarely objective. And as a result of that, there is so much of nepotism amongst the collegium members that there is give and take. I have my candidate, you have your candidate, the third fellow says, I have my candidate, and that's how they appoint them. They never, for example, appointing somebody to High Court, the judgment itself says, 1992 second, judge's case, that you have to look to the character of the lawyer. What is he at the bar? Is he somebody who is worthy of being considered for High Court judgeship? Does he have a good character? Does he have good knowledge? Does he have good experience? Is he courteous? Is he sensitive to the issues? Nothing is being seen. Today, what is being seen is that is he having a particular political ideology? So, they appoint people who have a particular ideology. Today, it's right wing. Maybe, during Mrs. Gandhi's time, it was left wing. But either way, left or right wing ideologies don't make good judges.
True.
They may fill up the post, but they don't make good judges. As a result of that, justice gets skewed. So, and in Supreme Court also, there are good judges in High Courts and Supreme Court. But their number will never, I don't think at any point of time since 1992, when that judgment came and judges grabbed the power from the executive, I don't think at any point of time more than 25% judges were the best in High Courts and Supreme Court. If you take rough and ready estimate. So 75% were such who really didn't deserve to come to Supreme Court or didn't deserve to be appointed in High Court. And that's a big, and as a result of that, why is it that there is inefficiency today? Why is it that there is a delay in, hearing of cases and giving justice? Because if you don't appoint the most efficient people, lawyers, as High Court judges, or most efficient judges from the High Courts as the Supreme Court judges, naturally it cascading effect. So it affects the entire administration of justice, and then it percolates down. Judges don't sit on time. I have seen judges of the Supreme Court, sitting sometimes half an hour, 45 minutes later. Chief Justices of India. Chief Justice Chandrachud himself, I saw many a times, he used to sit at 11:15 or so. Justice Bobde used to sit late. Many judges used to do that. And many Supreme Court judges would come at 11. One lady was there. She used to sit at 11:30, 12. Now, all these message goes to the High Courts. And from there, it goes to the lower court. So, if you don't have judicial discipline, so these are all problems of wrong appointments. Wrong appointments. And as a result of that, the corruption has taken place. As a result of that, what is known as uncle justice and a nephew, nephews appearing and getting justice is happening in system. So there are many ways system has become, I would say, seriously challenging or challenged and somewhat corroded, I would say.
So, do we have no solution to this? Like, are
See,
we
how do
staring
you-
at an abyss?
Yes, it is an abyss, because where do you find good people in society today who love this country, who will want to make the appointments purely on merit and merit alone? So in a collegium, you have for Supreme Court judges, 5 judges appointing, considering Chief Justice and 4 colleagues. And for High Court, Chief Justice and 2 of his colleagues sit. Now, these 4 or 3, 5 or 3 are never, of the same mind. They are all, being driven in different direction for their own, personal reasons, not objective reasons. Not from the point of view of the country is good, or not from the point of view of the judiciary is good. So, unless you can find, all 5 people or all 3 people who really love this country and you want to appoint the best, that is a challenge. Now, in last 11 years, across the country, and this has been happening even during Congress time. Congress was not free earlier.
Right.
But at least I would say that 60% of judges, when governments appointed them, were good.
Okay.
Maybe 70%, 30% may have been, poor. But today the ratio is reversed. Only 30 are good and 70 are bad. So that is something which is, I don't know how we can find a solution. Where are good people who will want to appoint good people purely on objective considerations from country's point of view? No. There is no system which can work today. Neither NJSC nor Collegium, and certainly not the executive. Because if you leave it to the executive, it will appoint now judges to Supreme Court like it is appointing governors who are their representatives on the in these high constitutional positions. So it's a big challenge.
So, even in the higher judiciary, there is this raging debate around the fact that senior lawyers have a big leeway when it comes to judges, especially, getting hearings and, whether their cases are listed in the roster. How do you see that happening? Because I think handful of judges, maybe lawyers, maybe 15, 20 of you guys have always had like an advantage over the others.
See, unfortunately, what has happened is, it's not just the lawyers. The rich and the powerful litigants have hijacked the judicial system. And judicial system has many flaws. One of the flaws is the registry. And registry is being manipulated by the rich and the powerful. So, it is, you are right, they are able to get their cases, on the board for hearing as quickly as, possible. While a poor man who has no connection may have to wait for, months on. So, we are supposed to have a computer system in Supreme Court. But I have seen more often than not that computer system doesn't work. And this, Chief Justice is the master of the roster, that theory. It is so skewed, that theory, that as master of the roster, I have seen Chief Justice after Chief Justice manipulating the system and, directing listing of cases which are, not deserving. And placing them before select benches. So, justice gets skewed first in listing and then in sending it to a, desirable bench. So, it's a very serious challenge today. It has nothing to do, yes, the rich and the powerful can hire the successful lawyers and successful lawyers appear. There is nothing wrong about lawyers appearing because, they are being briefed by other lawyers. But yes, you are right that some Chief Justice has to seriously think about it. How he can lay down that as master of the roster, the Chief Justice has, no role in getting the matters listed. But real challenge in High Courts today is, and which is also somewhat in Supreme Court, the number of cases. So in High Court today, for example, if you go to any High Court, before any judge who is hearing a writ appeal or writ petitions, original side, or who is hearing, other appeals, every day there are 100 to 150 to 200 cases listed before them. Now, it is impossible, humanly impossible for a judge to really hear all those cases and, give justice. So, we must first arrive at a system where we computerize listing immediately. We ensure that not more than 30 or 40 matters are listed before every judge in the country and every bench, and that the bar is told that you must cooperate and no adjournments will be taken, and we will hear these matters and dispose of at least 50% of those 30-40 cases every day. Today, most time is spent only in adjournments.
Yeah.
So, it's the system needs, I would say, overhauling. It needs a complete overhauling, and nobody has desire to overhaul that.
Yeah.
Every time chief justices come, good chief justices, come, and like present Chief Justice Gawai is a good Chief Justice. Justice Khanna was outstanding. So there are good Chief Justices who have come, but I don't think they have made any serious efforts as head of the judiciary, because the Chief Justice of India is the head of the entire judiciary of the country. Nobody has made serious efforts to understand what the challenges are, much less find solutions, how to, remove these bottlenecks. So I don't know. There is no answer to it. And as a result of that, we just go on suffering.
So you mentioned about chief justices, and in the judicial corridors, you were known as like sort of a rebel advocate who had like quite a lot of tiff with multiple chief justices. Would you like to like shed a few light on that?
No,
I think I don't know if I remember it correct, but there was one hearing where you also told the chief justice that with all due respect, sir, you are wrong.
Yes, of course. No, I always told, not just the Chief Justice. I would tell judges, if judge was wrong, he is wrong. We must, as lawyers, we must have courage to tell judge that he is wrong. Nothing wrong about that. You do it respectfully, but because unless you point it out to him, the judge continues to think that he is right, and therefore he will decide the case according to his, whims and his wrong understanding of the law. But no, I have had issues with Chief Justices, I must admit, many a times. Some of the Chief Justices, I walked out of their court. I never appeared before them because I felt that they were extremely biased and and they were prone to influences which I was not prepared to, suffer, because then my clients would, get hurt and they would get injustice. So it's important that as a lawyer, one must have courage of conviction to stand up against any kind of a wrongdoing by any judge. How does it matter whether that judge happens to be a Chief Justice of India? So, you don't do that. I mean, it's something which, I would, even when I would be sitting in court and judges would sometimes, ill-treat a young lawyer, I would stand up and defend the young lawyer. And politely tell sorry on behalf of the young lawyer, but tell the judge that please don't treat him like this. Encourage him. So I always felt that as lawyer, it's our duty to really be courteous, but at the same time firm in your arguments, in your, and remind judges that, you are not doing something which is right. I have told many a times judges not to hear the cases, because I knew that they were influenced. And I would tell them in open court that please kindly, I won't say why, but I will tell them that don't please hear the case because it's not good for you and not good for the institution.
Right.
But it's something which comes. I'm a born rebel. So that rebel in me would come out whenever I would see any injustice being done to people.
Right. Was there any incident where you opposed a judge and later on when you met maybe in the chambers and he said that you were right and it changed his or her perspective?
Many a times.
Any memorable?
No, I don't want to go into particulars. But judges have again and again told me that and I have in fact had judges corrected. I remember one day I was sitting in Delhi High Court and Chief Justice Satish Chandra Sharma, who's now in Supreme Court, was heading a bench, and there was some matter which involved colleges of Delhi, and they were not getting some permission for some talent evening or something, and Chief Justice passed an order saying that all these programs in colleges, they should move the Commissioner of Police, and Commissioner of Police should consider their applications.
Okay.
So I got up and I said that, and he passed the order. So I said, this is a wrong order. I said, we have all been in college. You have also been in college. We have all kinds of functions. If we are going to start going to the commissioner of police to get the permission, we will never be able to hold.
Correct.
This is part of our culture.
Yeah.
It's part of growing up process that we have function, all kinds of events as students. And we don't need permission from police commissioners for that. And he corrected the order. He immediately realized that he had passed an order which would, because I said it would be misused. See, commissioner of police means he will give it to deputy commissioner, who in turn will give it to SHO. And you know how it happens. Then, everybody is interested in some favor for giving permission. So I said, please, for God's sake, don't shackle the student community. Let them have fun, because these are the times of, having fun.
Yeah.
And I must say, to his credit, Chief Justice Sharma immediately realized that what I was saying, and he corrected the order to the surprise of everybody in the court. So, this is part of us. We love when you do something, you don't do it because you dislike the institution. You do it because you love the institution. You respect the institution. And when you feel that the judges are not going in the right direction, it's a duty of a lawyer to really point out the right direction. There is nothing wrong about it.
Sir, you have been the president of Supreme Court Bar Association thrice, if I'm not wrong.
That's
in
correct.
2014, 19 and 20, right? When you look back, what would you say were your biggest achievements as the SCBA president? And were there any regrets, like something you wanted to do but you couldn't achieve?
No, we achieved a lot. I must say one thing, that first and foremost, I brought Supreme Court Bar Association on a national platform. And, just being there, I could see that bar associations across the country started interacting with us, trying to, take cue from us, trying to follow what we were doing. So it was something which had never happened earlier, because ultimately it's the Supreme Court Bar Association, and it must therefore have that kind of a respect in the country amongst all the bar associations. And so that was something which was very good, because we had tremendous interaction with many of the bar associations. Whenever they wanted some guidance, we could discuss that. When they wanted some help, we could discuss about the help. But most of my achievements were, for example, I completed very successfully a housing project for the lawyers in Greater Noida, which was unfortunately not being completed for 7 years. Okay. And originally the price was fixed at 16 lakhs. But by the time I became first president, the price had reached 55 lakhs per flat. And these lawyers come from across the country. So they had borrowed money and they were living in rented accommodations. Okay. So almost 700 plus flats. And they were very upset because neither the contractor was interested nor the administrator, who was self-appointed, a former Supreme Court judge, was interested in completing it. So I must say that I used every trick at my command to ensure that those flats were completed within less than 6 months after I took over. And I could give possession to them to their satisfaction. So I used my contact with the bureaucracy to get completion certificates, because, first Supreme Court Society in Mayur Vihar doesn't have completion certificate even today, 45 years later. But I said I will not hand over possession till completion certificate is given. I could get the stay order vacated from the National Green Tribunal, which had granted stay against issuance of completion certificate to all Noida projects for some reason. And I could also, ensure that the housing complex was completed without increasing even a penny more after I took over. The contractor was told that I will not pay anything more. Whatever past administrators may have paid you, that's different. Under my chairmanship, and I was appointed by Supreme Court to look into it, because all the lawyers went to judges, Justice Madan Lokur and Justice Goel, and bitterly, complained that things are going out of control. So judges requested me, and I had a great experience about completion. In fact, I used Tata Consulting Services for the purpose of allotment, because somebody wanted on ground floor, somebody wanted on 10th floor. Right. I was perplexed. I said, how do I do it? So I said, I will do it by lots. And I requested TCS, and late Mr. Cyrus Mistry, agreed that they will give pro bono services to me.
Wow.
Because it was a small thing
Of course,
for TCS. It's ridiculous to even request TCS.
Correct, yeah.
But I did request them. And late Mr. Cyrus Mistry, because he happened to be late Mr. Chagla's son-in-law, so I could do that. So then of course completion of the first time in Supreme Court's history, we have a area for litigants. It's called Litigants Lounge. And you have to go and see how beautifully Justice Thakur has helped me create it. Fantastic. Then we did for the first time bar room for the Supreme Court lawyers. There was no bar room till I came. Then we expanded the ladies bar room. We expanded we had for the first time a beautiful canteen downstairs, which was done. And I must say, on the opening of that newly built canteen after summer vacation, all judges of Supreme Court except one judge attended for coffee at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So we had a lot of interactions from foreign lawyers, judges and lawyers, delegations. We had fantastic lecture series organized by late Mr. Madhav Menon, one of India's greatest, legal teachers, and educationists and jurists. So he did a fantastic training program. We had very good lecture series. Justice Nariman has delivered a fantastic lecture for the first time in Supreme Court's history. This is very interesting. Till I came in 2015-16, there was no portrait of late Mr. Ambedkar in Supreme Court premises.
Oh, yeah, that's
neither
very
with the judges, nor with the lawyers. So I requested Paresh Maiti, a famous artist whose paintings sell for 1 crore of rupees today or more, that please introduce me to some portrait artists. He said, I will do it. And then one day he called me in the evening and he said, Dada, if you are free, come to my studio. Studio is below his home. So I and my wife went. I thought he's inviting us for a drink. He gave us the drink, then he took me down, and on the easel was a portrait of Ambedkar which he had himself made.
Wow.
Didn't charge a penny. Didn't charge a penny. And that was, unveiled on the birthday of late Dr. Ambedkar by none other than Mr. Gopal Gandhi. Gandhiji's grandson and one of the greatest in living Indians today. So that was a very interesting, because I told my executive committee in the first meeting that how can this institution not have Ambedkar's presence? So, all these things as a lawyer, but most of all, I could help a lot of lawyers who were in difficult situation. So if a young lawyer was, imposed with cost of 5 lakhs of rupees by judge in some case because he didn't know how to argue, I would ask him to move an application, go and appear for him. And judges would smile and say, Mr. President, why are you here? So I said, it was very interesting. Justice Kher had imposed 5 lakhs on somebody. And I told him, so I used to stand outside court 4 and whoever had problem would approach me. So this young boy with tears came. So I went to Justice Kher's court. So he says, Mr. President, why are you here in this matter? I said, my lord, you have done the right thing. You have done the right thing. You have rightly chided this young lawyer and imposed costs. And I therefore bow down to your lordships. Then he said, now, if it is so, then what do you have to say? I said, my lord, but 5 lakhs. So he said, how much? I said, 5,000. So he reduced from 5 lakhs to 5,000. Another lawyer whose case was dismissed by Justice Gogoi because there were typographical errors. And I dismissed. He was led by a senior, Mr. Sundaram. And I told him that file another petition. I wrote a letter to all the lawyers saying that you should be careful not to have typographical errors. Judges have to read at night. They are old. They all have glasses. And therefore, you should not have, bad English and you should have proper spacing in typing and all that nonsense. I sent a circular as president to the bar members. Then I went to his court and I said, this lawyer is very good lawyer. He has briefed me many a times. So he said, yeah, so what? I said, but you have dismissed this matter yesterday for, typographical errors. So he said, yes, we have done it. I said, it will go in his career. This boy will be finished. So he said, what do you suggest? I said, you please restore it and give me relief. He restored and gave me stay. So one lawyer was arrested in Assam when he went to meet his client in a police station. member.
Correct.
I rang up the chief minister. He was in meeting. So I told chief minister's secretary that please make sure that this lawyer is immediately released and taken to the airport. Otherwise, tomorrow morning I am moving the Supreme Court against the chief minister personally. And he was released. Chief minister called me up and said, Saikia was the chief minister.
Yeah.
He said, Mr. Dave,
Mr. Hitesh
yeah.
Saikia, yeah.
So he said, Mr. Dave, there was some misunderstanding on the part of the police. We have released him and I have made sure that police takes him to the airport in our vehicle. So, that kind of help, lot of help, financial help, I could give lot of financial help, lot of other things. COVID time, we collected, we helped 940 lawyers. We gave each one of them 25,000 rupees because it was a terrible time. So we could, and I must say many top lawyers like Mr. Salve, Mr. Chandaruday Singh, Mr. Shyam Diwan, Meenakshi Arora, and many other lawyers helped me. I myself gave huge money. So we could, raise a lot of funds and help lawyers.
I think it was during COVID when your last tenure.
Yes.
I think you voluntarily resigned also because elections were not taking place, and you
Yes,
said that.
that's correct. That's correct. Because they wanted to extend my term.
Right.
I said I would party to a dishonest action. I can't extend my own term like that. So
Do you think that kind of integrity is rare in the judicial system now?
I don't know whether it's integrity or not, but it's the people have love for hanging on to positions. And I think it's wrong to hang on like that. If your term is over, term is over. If elections can't be held, then you can't just continue in the garb of not holding elections. So that's something which I am very touchy about. That these are public offices. Every office that you get in this thing, you are supposed to only hold the office for the welfare of the people who have elected you. You are not supposed to do it for your own welfare or welfare of your friends and family. Every office, be it office of a trust or a society, or a political office, or an office like this that I was president of the bar. Each one of these offices have obligations, and those obligations must be respected by us.
So you mentioned about people holding on to positions, and you also spoke about Mr. Gogoi. And Mr. Gogoi was immediately appointed as the Rajya Sabha MP after he retired. Do you think such kind of appointments, set bad precedents?
I think they send terrible precedents. It's totally wrong, for the government to consider such, judges who have helped you in, all kinds of judgments, which some of which were, in my view, were wrong and were given only because of the political, influence that government wielded over judges. So these kind of rewarding of positions of judges is unfortunate, and it really is, I would say, it sounds death knell of judiciary, independent judiciary. And it's been happening for quite some time. So it's wrong.
Do you think having a cooling off period helps?
I don't think cooling off period will help. What will help is that we must banish all these judges from doing this kind of, accepting this kind of appointments. I am very clear about the views. Even the judges should not be arbitrators post-retirement. Because our arbitration scene, which is so badly needed, is completely skewed because of the retired judges. Hardly there are few judges like Justice Krishna, Sri Krishna in Bombay, or Justice Wajibdar in Bombay, or Justice Ravindran here. So there are very few whom I can count who are good post-retirement and honest for that purpose. But otherwise, you must realize one thing, that since the judicial system is so badly, clogged with the pending cases, you need alternative dispute resolution mechanism. Because if you don't have that, the industrial development cannot take place. The investments cannot come. And if, commercial disputes are going to be engaged in our court system for 20-25 years, business climate gets affected. And if business climate gets affected, you don't have many opportunities to create jobs. We have 145 crore people. How are we going to employ people? If you want to create this employment, you need massive investments in infrastructure, massive investment in tourism, massive investment in, explorations of, mining and other explorations. So all these investments by foreign companies can come only if you have a very robust alternative dispute resolution mechanism in place. And this arbitration scene is so skewed in India that I must say that I'm almost ashamed of our arbitrators and our arbitration scene. Ashamed. So, we have to seriously think on a larger platform that how do we improve this system so that, because these are all linked to each other. The industrial climate of the country is linked to good judicial system.
Correct.
So we need, an alternative dispute resolution system. Nobody wants to think about it.
So recently the Bar Association also got like a sort of a restriction for interns, law interns in the Supreme Court. And there has been quite a lot of uproar around that. Can you like explain to our audience what exactly is the scenario?
See, a problem is this, that Supreme Court, as was originally, conceived, was, I would say, good enough for 20, 30 years of its life. But the Supreme Court, which has been conceived extension in last about 30 years, is not even good for 5 years of its life. As a result of that, the courtrooms are very small, the corridors are very small, so entry and exit is a big problem inside the courtrooms, and the number of lawyers have increased, the number of cases have increased exponentially.
Yes.
When Supreme Court was created in 1950 and now, the difference is, in millions.
Yeah.
So, it's very difficult for this infrastructure to really accommodate more and more interns inside the courtroom. So, idea is not to prohibit the interns from coming, frankly. But idea is that, it is impossible to pass the corridor on Mondays and Fridays, if you have seen.
Yeah.
And many a times impossible to enter the court, even if you have reached the door of the courtroom, because there is no way you can enter the court. Your case is being called out. You shout from the door and say, excuse me, my lord, I'm coming.
Yeah.
And so I think the whole idea was to decongest the court, not to hurt the legal interns from learning. My own take is that interns should not be encouraged to come to Supreme Court. Because frankly, every lawyer starts dreaming of Supreme Court. Supreme Court is not something which, lawyers should come straight away.
Yeah.
They should start their career at the lowest rank or in the High Court and then come up to the Supreme Court after 10 years of exposure or 15 years of exposure. So bringing these interns to the Supreme Court, I feel, is really an incorrect way of teaching them. Because in Supreme Court, they see on Mondays and Fridays is files being, thrown by judges, dismissed. There is hardly any learning process that they can learn from that court.
Correct. So do you think young lawyers in our country are exploited quite a lot, especially in the ecosystem that exists among senior lawyers?
I have no doubt that young lawyers are not only exploited in terms of remuneration, but in terms of the working hours. And this is where I definitely blame the law firms. Because the kind of lives that young lawyers have in law firms is, I think, completely unacceptable. They sometimes reach, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock, and they are working till 11, 12 in the night. And this includes even, young lady lawyers. So this kind of, pressure on them is not good. They are really being, I would say, treated poorly. I was always very clear that my interns, my juniors would not come on Sundays. Saturdays, I will shoo them away from my chamber after lunch. Friday also after lunch, I will not, allow them to come. And and most days after 7 o'clock, I would have my office, my chamber shut down. Because that's what it should be. So there is no doubt that, but what is really happening today is that there is suddenly a great attraction to legal profession. As I said, when I was growing up, it was attraction for medicine and engineering. Today, suddenly there is great attraction of, and law schools have mushroomed, across the country. Bar Council of India is giving every, institution permission to start without looking at its infrastructure or the quality of teachers or quality of the books, library that they have. So
Do
as
you
a
think
result,
this attraction is because of like big numbers being shown in the media, like so and so, like a Kapil Sibal would
yes,
charge this much, and Mr. Hari Salve is the most expensive lawyer, and and big numbers are thrown.
yes, partly because of that, certainly, and also law firms, their revenues have gone up.
Yeah, yeah,
They are in 10 figures. So law firms are also becoming very lucrative. The jobs in companies also as legal department of companies and as legal heads are becoming very attractive. So that is, but I think the number of lawyers who are being thrown out of law colleges, our system cannot absorb them, and I feel very sorry for them that in coming years they are going to find it very, very difficult to sustain and survive. And I saw that during COVID, that they didn't, tens and tens of hundreds of lawyers had no money to survive from day to day. Day to day.
yeah, yeah.
So it's a big challenge.
We have an overflow of lawyers while we need an overflow of judges.
Yes.
In a way.
Yeah. We certainly have very serious because, and judges, the per capita ratio of judges is lowest in the world.
Correct.
And as a result of that, the poor judges who are there in the system are overburdened. They can't, do justice properly.
Yeah.
So it's a big challenge.
Yeah. Sir, I just want you to debunk one or two legal myths, because it is usually thrown around quite a lot, but not many people know about it. First of them being the summer break. Like, people think that when the court goes for a summer break, they're just enjoying and chilling. Would you like to tell us what exactly happens during the summer break?
See, the kind of pressure that judges have, especially in Supreme Court and also somewhat in High Court, the Supreme Court pressure is unbelievable.
Yeah.
On Mondays and Fridays, every judge is expected to read, have 75 cases. Although they sit in division bench, but they don't divide cases that you take 40 and I'll take 35 or something like that. No. Each brief they are supposed to apply their mind. So Mondays and Fridays, which means that for Mondays they start, studying from Friday, and then when Monday is over, from Tuesday they start studying for Friday. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday they have final hearings in which they are supposed to, hear for the full day. Then they are supposed to deliver judgments of those final hearing cases, which judgments now, and we lawyers sometimes argue ad nauseam, because we don't stop, we are unstoppable lot. So we go on arguing endlessly, we go on repeating endlessly, and we bore judges sometimes to death. And so all that, gets on heavy on the judge's mind. I feel that the summer vacation or the vacations which are there are really oriented towards giving judges some relaxed time, because otherwise they have no relaxing time. And this time, I think, is, I would say, is good. I mean, judges will have to decide ultimately if they want to reduce somewhat, but I don't think that they can reduce it radically. There's nothing wrong about that. Yes, they have now started having vacation benches, and vacation benches are working quite well. So that's a good thing.
Sir, before we wrap up, I would like to ask you, why does Dushyant Dave have so much distrust on the government?
I don't distrust government. I feel that the governments, every government, I have been an opponent of even the Congress government, and I am an opponent of this government also. I feel that in this country, governance has become extremely polarized. It has become extremely biased. It has become extremely skewed, and to a great extent, it is, I would say, contrary to the constitutional morality and constitutional ethos. I don't think any government now cares about the constitution in every sense. So, as a result of that, when you see that things are not, working well in governance, it naturally one feels revolted by it, because, India is a beautiful country. It's a history of 5,000 years. And if we can't govern ourselves properly as per law, as per the constitution, then I think it's a shame on us. And it's therefore, a duty of every citizen. If you love the constitution, you must be prepared to die for the constitution. Now, if you don't stand up for the constitution and its values and, speak about it, tell the people that here is a government which doesn't respect, you can have in this country, Mrs. Gandhi dies, you can slaughter thousands of innocent, men, women and children from the Sikh community. If a Godhra train is burnt, you kill thousands of Muslims, men, women and children. Now, is that the kind of a democracy, our forefathers fought for? Everybody must remember one thing, that the sacrifices which were made by freedom fighters, we can never think of them. They were amazing people, millions of them, who fought for freedom against the most authoritative dictatorial government of Britain, British government. Britain was an empire. And they fought that, right from, 1857 Great Mutiny. Of course, it slowed down, but right from 1920s. And how many people have died? How many people have spent their times in jail? How many people gave their entire wealth to the freedom struggle?
True.
How many children missed their school? How many people didn't have proper education because of that? So their sacrifices we are forgetting, and we are therefore willing to accept any kind of excesses by our government on citizens. So in a sense, sometimes we are condoning dictatorial methods, because we feel that, that way at least some result can come. No, we should not do that. We should not, as Ambedkar said, that, bhakti in politics is most prevalent in India. He said bhakti is good in, for salvation of the soul, but bhakti in public life, in politics, is sure part to dictatorship. So you may respect Mr. Modi as the Prime Minister, but if you become a bhakt and start condoning everything that Mr. Modi and his government, does or allows, then I think you are responsible for allowing that dictatorship to step in. So it's our duty as citizens, as those of us, especially lawyers who understand constitution, who love constitution and rule of law, that we should stand up and speak against it. So it's not revolting. It's really reminding citizens that what is happening is not right. It's not constitutional. This is not rule of law. These are your rights. Please stand up for your rights. So I would say it's a pious duty on every citizen, and especially a lawyer.
So lastly, a young Dushyant Dave in Baroda saw a dream, and after so many incredible years as a lawyer, what would be that one advice that you would like to give young professionals who want to enter, the field of law and judiciary?
It's simple. You must have strong ethics. If you don't have strong ethics, don't become lawyers. And you must be hardworking. You must be, prepared to bring justice to your clients, come what may. And if a judge is standing in the way of that, you must have the courage to remind the judge that, sorry, my client deserves justice. Kindly grant it to him.
Thank you so much, sir. On that note, thank you so much. It has been such a privilege to have this conversation with you. We hope to again sit down some other day and, discuss a lot more about your life and career.
Thank you so very much. Thanks a lot.